Yo guys, what's going on? It's Kevin here. What I want to talk about today is keeping your mind sharp by keeping your body in good physical shape. We people are creatures of habit as well as creatures of logic. It's one of the main things that separates us from all the other biological animals out there. And it's that we have our ability to think and justify different actions and reactions that we have. Although this is great, it's also a enemy in disguise, if you will, because although a lot of the times we know we should go do something, we don't because we tell ourselves that we know we can. So why actually go out and do it? Why go prove it to somebody else when you actually know that you can yourself? So to illustrate this topic, I'd like to introduce the typical American working man. Right? This is a stereotype, of course, but the American man, he wakes up early every single morning, puts on his suit and tie, drinks his cup of coffee, and reads the newspaper until he goes to work for the day. And while he's at work, of course, he just sits behind his desk, types on his computer, then goes home, sits in front of the TV, takes off his tie, and just unwinds for the rest of the evening. And this is obviously toxic behavior because, we fall into this like paradigm, if you will, where we remember as little kids, for example, that you could eat whatever you want, do whatever you wanted, and you never gained weight, you never lost your cognitive abilities, and everything was just great without worrying about anything, without having to go and exercise. But we often forget that we as little kids are really fucking active creatures. We're always running up and down the stairs. It's always a race. We're always tumbling and jumping on trampolines and playing sports, whether it's soccer, kicking a soccer ball around. We often forget that as little kids, we're extremely active without even knowing or trying. And so as people, we tend to believe that, since we're creatures of habit, that we can eat whatever we want and, we don't have to go exercise and we won't get fat. Our body won't slow down. We're not going to lose a step, if you will. And, in a more personal example, I have a good cousin of mine who is a couple years older than me, but I don't get to see him very often, except on Thanksgiving when we go out and we play our yearly flag football game. And this was a cousin, he was the best, he was the superstar. You gave him the football and he was gone. No matter what, he was the fastest. And I remember clearly the year when he graduated from college, he got his first serious job. And I remember I hadn't seen him in a year since the last game. But what happened was he came back, he'd gained a couple pounds, and he just wasn't fast anymore. He was sluggish, he was slow, he couldn't do anything. And he just kept bitching, God, what's wrong with me? He didn't know why he couldn't perform the same anymore. And it's because he wasn't as active. He used to do things like playing sports, and he rode motocross and skateboarded and rode bikes all the time. But once he got his job, he found himself way more often just sitting behind the desk and sitting in front of the TV and falling into this slum. And, his mind overpowered his body, and his body said, I don't want to go do anything. His mind said, oh, I don't need to go do it. I already know that I can. I don't need to go play football because I already know I'm good at football. And, our mind is very powerful in that sense where it can often trick our body into telling it that it doesn't need to go do whatever action it is. And this is why, having a strong mind is extremely important, but you have to have the body that can physically back it up. If you were to take two guys, right, or fine, two girls that have never done a cartwheel before in their life, right, they both think they probably can. You take one girl who just sits behind a desk all day and doesn't get much exercise, but you take a girl that, let's say, goes running every day. Neither of them have ever done a cartwheel, and both of them are very confident that they can because it's a cartwheel. It's easy to do, right? But which one do you think is much better chance of doing it successfully? The one who keeps their body in, good physical shape by going running, or the person that just doesn't really care very much and doesn't stay active? Obviously, it's the person who can go running more, not just because, they are actually in better shape, but because they have more confidence. Their body is more used to actually getting out there and being in uncomfortable positions. We often talk about getting out of your comfort zone, and it's so easy. This is something that happens to everybody where, you know that you can do something. Let's say it's going to talk to a new girl in the street. How hard is it to have a person walking by and you go say hello? It's the easiest thing in the world. It's just a normal conversation that you have with people. But so many people trick themselves into thinking, I don't need to go do it because I know I already can. But if you keep your body on its toes, you're going running where there's rocks and bridges and rivers that you have to go and cross, right? You're gonna be more on your toes. Your body's gonna be more ready to adapt to whatever situations are thrown in front of it. So that way, the next time you have a mental, physical test in front of yourself, you're gonna be more willing to get up there and go and take action. So it's really important to keep your body in good shape, because the more in shape that you keep your body, the more confidence you'll have in yourself. Yo guys, what's going on? The camera ran out of memory before the end of the last take. But to recap what I was mentioning, constantly testing yourself and testing your physical abilities and staying in good shape is really essential to continually growing in your mind as well. Our mind often plays tricks on us and tells us that we don't need to go do something if we believe we can already do it. We don't need to reinforce something that we once could do. And just because you could do something as a kid doesn't mean you could do it now. So even when your mind tells yourself that you can do it, by keeping your body in shape and just reinforcing that, wow, I know I'm in really good physical shape, it also tricks your mind into thinking that it needs to continually test that as well. You got to remember that our mind follows our bodies, which is exactly why you can, have a really hard, depressing day, and that'll make you physically tired where you don't want to get up and go do anything. But even if you go to the gym and have like a really good workout, you might be physically sore, but your mind is still active. Anyway, guys, until next time, peace.